DiverseMedicine. It's Dr. Dale. I'm sitting here with Dr. Daniel.
Simon Tesfamarian, third-year medical student.
And today we're going to be talking about why black males are not applying to medical school. So we're not talking about why there's not more black doctors. We're not talking about why there's not more black males doing well in medical school. We're talking about why black males are not applying to medical school. Some double AMC data that came out for the year 2011 shows that out of 32,000 medical school applicants, first-time medical school applicants in 2011, 6.8% of them were black. So that's about 2,200 of them were black. And out of that, 35% of those were black men. So in other words, out of the first-time applicants to med school in 2011, 2.4% of them were African-American males, which is down from about 2.6% in 2002. So that equates to 771 black men out of 32,000 total first-time applicants who applied to medical school. So the question is, why are there so few black men applying to medical school? What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'll give you some background from my experience in med school. I graduated med school back in 2008, and starting off, there were only two of us, two black males in our class. We had a class of about 200 students, and there were about 18 black students total. And out of that class, there were only two of us, two black males. So, and by the time we finished, I was the only one left of the black males in that class. So, it definitely is a problem. It's definitely a problem. So, but I mean, as far as statistics right now, I think we discussed we started talking about it a little bit earlier. I think the huge issue is just that a lot of black males just aren't getting the guidance, the proper guidance to even know about med school and know about the application process. And a lot of them who started out on the medical track, a lot of times they just don't have somebody to push them at the very end. Because like in my program, I went to Texas A&M for college, and we had a great system as far as they were really pushing us. They really showed us you need to make sure you put your applications at this time. You need to do this and whatnot. So for us, it was kind of came.
So let's take it back.
Easy, but
so let's take it back a little bit. So while you were at Texas A&M, how many of your black male friends actually applied to medical school? How many started off wanting to be medical doctors? How many actually applied to medical school?
Weird thing, A&M is a huge school, but there really weren't many at all. I'm trying to think of any pre-med students. I know the two students that are actually in my med school class, both of us went to the same undergrad at A&M. Okay. And those are actually the only two that I can think of that actually went the medical track who were pre-med. In the class above me and the class below me, there might have been some here and there, but within my classes, I had classes of 200, 300 students, biology class, chemistry class, and I was usually pretty much the only one. There was usually one, maybe one more, but yeah.
So you're saying the problem starts even before undergrad? You're saying that even in undergrad there weren't that many black men who were interested in the pre-med route?
Yeah, but then again, I went to Texas A&M, which is more huge on engineering. Almost all the black males there were doing engineering.
That's a good point. What do you think, Simon?
I have to agree. I think that there's a real issue with sort of guidance. I feel like black males don't have enough guidance to get them here. And I think it all starts with first having some sort of vision and actually seeing yourself as a doctor, being able to see that visually. So seeing people like you, who look like you, think like you, talk like you, that sort of thing. When you don't have that, I feel like it's much harder to actually attain some goal or actually become a doctor. So it starts with that at an early age, having exposure to that. And then along the way, there has to be sort of this pattern, this repetition of seeing that and actually being able to believe that you can make it there. And so I feel like a lot of black males don't have access to, say, an uncle or an aunt or somebody who is in the medical, or who is a doctor, like a lot of other people may have, other groups may have. And so I think that that's a significant issue. Not having that, I think, makes us less likely to actually become doctors, because we don't have those resources that tell us, oh, well, you know, if you just take this route, if you just do this, it'll make it 10 times easier. You know, if you do this and that, you know, it's just, this is the way you should do it. I feel like we don't have that. And I think it's really upon the individual to sort of go out there and grab those resources. And so I don't, that we should change that, because we should not depend on individual characteristics and personalities to, you know, increase the black male doctor population. There has to be a community effort, and it has to be sustained, and creating this pipeline that's consistent. So,
yeah. So I mean, you hit on something that I harp on a lot, and people probably get tired of me talking about it. You talked about role models, having mentors, and things of that nature. This is something that is always talked about in the black entertainment, and people get tired. Bill Cosby took a hit for talking about this before, but essentially talking about the effects of, you know, the whole hip hop culture on black males. Typically, everybody likes to kind of overlook that and say, you know, well, hip hop doesn't affect what black men do, but I'm not sure that's accurate, you know, because even myself, and thinking about the friends that I grew up with, you know, and the people I knew in college. I certainly wasn't the only person in my undergraduate when I started University of Missouri who was interested in pursuing a career in the medical field. But, you know, I played basketball a lot. So I would go to the rec center, just recreational basketball. I would see all my buddies there playing ball. And eventually I'd say, oh, well, I've got to get home to go study. But those guys would still be at the gym, still playing ball, talking about, we're going to this party, talking about, you know, this new song came out, and spend so much time just kind of so infatuated with that whole hip-hop culture, and you see them going around campus trying to almost live out some of that hip-hop culture. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it was obvious to see that a lot of the efforts went to doing the things that you see people doing on television as opposed to doing the things that get people to medical school. So one of my personal beliefs is that the black male population is kind of pushed too hard towards that hip-hop culture, towards that sports culture. You know, we have people coming to the gym every day, recreational ball, and their goal in college was to make the basketball team, instead of thinking, hey, maybe I'm in college, you know, I can get a good education. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to make the basketball team in college, that's perfectly fine. But when you're paying so much money to go to school, and your goal is to make the basketball team, and your classes, your grades are slipping, then that's where I think that's where it becomes a problem. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very, very true. I mean, society in a way kind of trains you, and the media, society, pretty much sometimes can feel like they're putting you in a box.
Yeah.
Saying that what they show on TV, the doctor shows, they're going to show doctors here. I mean, if you look like this type of person you are, you look like this. So I mean, I think that does have a huge role with all of that. I mean, I second that opinion. I thought completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, you know, with hip hop culture, I think it's sort of a manifestation of a larger issue, you know, as you mentioned, with the just media in general, and the portrayal of the black male and all these things that sort of hold black men, black young children, from sort of pursuing things beyond that image. Again, it's about that vision that you have of yourself, that sort of consciousness of yourself, understanding yourself, and you see it all around you. And I think that breaking out of that, you know, some people may have their escapes, whether it's like reading books that portray a different image, or, you know, having mentors that portray a different image of black males. All these different things sort of counterbalance these false portrayals of black males. Mm-hmm. And so it's sort of this self-fulfilling prophecy that we have in society, and that is not going to change overnight. Mm-hmm. So if we're thinking about pragmatic change that we can make in the community, it's sort of not trying to get rid of that media image, because that's going to be there. And I think that what we can do, though, is if we focus on, I don't want to say isolating or insulating youth from that, but creating a sort of second home or second environment, a culture within a culture, basically, that where young males, black males, can sort of take refuge and have positive messages that lead to positive outcomes, like becoming a doctor one day. So that's what I think would be very powerful within our community.
Yeah, that's important. And you know, I guess there are certain organizations that try to do that, Big Brothers and things of that nature. They try to do that, so that's actually a great point.
And I should also mention that it should be done in a way that doesn't attack hip hop culture, but sort of us and all these different things around it, because we can't escape this influence. You know, it's part of the culture. You know, it's sort of ingrained. And so the thing is sort of being understanding of the culture that currently exists and just adapting to it so that, you know, we can have a pragmatic approach that sort of, you know, brings kids into this inner culture, but doesn't say, oh, that other one is dangerous or stay away from that. But just, it's more of showing them the good than telling them to avoid the bad.
Yeah, certainly. I definitely agree. I grew up surrounded by the hip hop culture thing, but fortunately for me, I had, you know, parents, older siblings, people who were that culture within the culture for me. They could show me, yeah, you know, it's okay to be part of the hip hop culture, but also, hey, come, you know, even within that, come check this out. You know, there's black men doing things like this, practicing medicine.
And, exactly. And I should mention also that the population that these doctors will one day treat are people that are listening to hip hop and doing all these things. So we have to be able to. That is part of us, and we have to accept the fact that. So
that's on point. That's perfect.
Where I was going to go. I mean, that diversity. That's why they want us. They want us in these programs. They want us reaching out to people sitting just like us. So it's good to be able to relate to the patient population. And something that you mentioned earlier, I mean, with those statistics, it kind of strikes me just because you would think, I mean, with technology and with having more access to actually seeing these doctors, I mean, you get on Facebook and you see your friends who are doctors, you see, you actually, it seems like as time goes, you're actually having more exposure to these figures. So, I mean, it surprised me actually that the numbers are going down regardless.
That's a good point.
So,
but we also have to consider the economic situation in this country, and you know, the thing is, it's a really tough time for a lot of black folks in this country, and that likely translates into having to take on a job while you're in school, and those sort of things that make it harder for kids to actually go into medicine and focus. And you know, actually, this country was founded on the idea of, you know, that the white male will have leisure and will be able to sort of pursue the arts and the sciences and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So leisure is incredibly important, and with the economic situation, for black males to also have that sort of leisure, they need to be able to free their minds from thinking about, am I going to eat tomorrow? It's cold in this house, that kind of thing. And that was actually what Booker T. Washington was sort of doing with the whole, you know, the Tuskegee Institute. He's insulated them from all the, you know, thinking about survival and thinking about all these things. And the other issue is also just when you do get into university or high school or whatever it is, you're being pulled in 20 directions, which is not the same as a lot of other groups. For minorities, broader minorities, not just black males, you're being pulled in so many different directions. Like right now, this is something like we are obligated. I feel like we have to do this because other people may not have that same responsibility.
Nobody else is going to do it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're being pulled in so many different directions, and so I think it's another issue. And then just another thing, Obama just talked about just recently. He was at Morehouse, and he gave a speech and talked about black males have to work twice as hard. You know, we all know this, and I don't need to. So maybe that's
something that's hard to explain to people, you know. But I definitely agree with you. The fact that you kind of do have to work twice as hard, and hey, I'll leave it at that. But I definitely agree with that point. And you know, talking about economics, like I can think I certainly did have a lot of friends in college who, like you said, had to work multiple jobs in order to finish college. Because you see a friend one day and you say, "Hey, you taking classes?" And they'd say, "No, I'm not taking classes." Why not? You know, I couldn't afford to pay my tuition this semester. And it does weigh heavier on your heart when you know you have to go to class. Oh, I've got to leave here in a little bit so I can make it to work in time. Oh, and I've got a test on Friday. You know, that's a lot for somebody to think about when you're trying to apply to school. And not saying that other racial groups might not have those same stressors and the black female and things like that, but I think it is a little bit more prevalent in the black male society. Other thing, which I've got some notes written down here to consider, other thing is MCAT scores. What are you guys' takes on the MCAT score preventing black males from applying to medical school?
Well, you know, I really think with the MCAT scores, again, it's the subtleties that lead to sort of, with the MCAT scores, I feel like it's a large product of access to resources.
Yeah.
A lot of students do not have access to these $1,000 classes and courses,
Exactly.
and I didn't take an MCAT course. I couldn't afford it. So I'm just saying the thing is other students may be able to afford that, and I should say that it doesn't mean that black students don't have access and don't pay for those things, and that they, despite taking those things, they do worse. I don't know. I haven't seen any data like that, but there has been data that I've read in the past that has shown that a significant factor in black males being able to or having lower MCAT scores and SAT scores, standardized test scores, has to do with the fact access to resources.
Yeah.
And so that's something to be considered, and I think that we can't downplay that.
Yeah, definitely. And also something, I think even after you take the MCAT, once you get that score back, I wonder how much it affects the black, anybody actually, but thinking about black populations more specifically, how much, if somebody says, I got maybe, I don't know, 24 on the MCAT, that's not high enough. I'm not going to apply to med school. So I wonder how much black males face that. We did a survey on DiverseMedicine, close to when we first started DiverseMedicine, about what is the minimum MCAT score you would get before applying to med school, and 50% of people said it would be 28. If you think about it, back when I took the MCAT, a long time ago now, but when I took the MCAT, the average MCAT score wasn't even up to a 28.
Exactly.
So if people are saying that they're not going to apply until they get the high of a score, then it's just keeping people from applying. My wife gives some of the best advice to the students that she mentors. She says, do not be your own worst enemy, When she was applying to med school, I hope she doesn't get mad at me for telling her personal story, but when she was applying to med school, people were telling her, advisors were saying, don't apply to med school. Your MCAT score is not high enough. Obviously she applied to med school, she got into 2 med schools and did fine, but just people saying that MCAT score is not going to get you in, and then I imagine this happens to some black men say, oh, my score is not high enough, I'm not going to take it and get rejected. I'm not going to apply to med school and get rejected because that score is not high enough.
I think that the other issue is, people see that data. They see that, black males, black people in general have these lower MCAT scores. And, if I'm a youth, a college student, I'm looking to apply, and I see that, and I wonder, why is that? And I understand that there's such a small population of black doctors out there, black male doctors specifically. That's going to affect me in some way, and that's going to make me think, why is that? It may even make me question myself.
Yeah,
and so at the pit of it, at the core of it, there's the confidence thing, and we cannot ignore also the fact that the MCAT has become basically an industry now. You have all these the Kaplan, Princeton courses, and all these different things that are out there, and if you don't understand that it's an industry, basically a game. You can call it a game. So if you understand the game, or the hustle, or whatever people want to call it, that's essentially what it is. And so I think that people that have uncles, aunts, cousins that are doctors, they know, and they'll tell them that early on, that do this, take this course, do this, that, whatever. And so I never had those resources. Yeah. I know people like my black male friends that are in med school do not have those resources. Yeah. So I think that's a significant issue, and I should also mention that I feel like I just want to give one story. There was a student who told me that they remember reading a passage from The Economist, actually on the MCAT, word for word. They remembered reading that passage.
Oh wow!
And so it made me think that, like, what kind of material are they pulling? Is it from the New Yorker, the Economist, from the New York Times, for those verbal passages that typically uses a language that a certain type of people use?
Yeah, that I never read growing up.
And I never read growing up. Just saying that this has become an industry, and it's these ingrained stereotypes that are out there that make them less likely to succeed.
I will tell you, I read an article recently. The good thing is they're starting to move away from the MCAT. They're starting to move away from those things. They always say the MCAT's going to be, a good predictor of how well you do in med school. Maybe it is. I don't know. Me personally, I did okay with the MCAT. I didn't do stellar on the MCAT, but I did fairly decent in med school. My medical school test scores for the standardized tests were a lot better. So the MCAT, just to all the listeners, all the young black men applying, the MCAT is not the end-all be-all for how good of a doctor you're going to be. It doesn't tell you how well you're going to score on these other tests. I think we're probably all proof of that. And the other thing, so I actually had this exact topic I had a discussion with a couple other black men, actually on Facebook, and we have going back and forth arguing about how come there's so few black men in medicine. And the thing that they kept on mentioning, which I never thought about, they were saying, kind of hits on your points, the time investments that you have to put into becoming a doctor. And then one of the gentlemen even made the comments, I think he's a physician also, he made the comments, because black males are smarter than that to waste all their time working to become a medical doctor, taking out all those loans, having to pay you back, not catching up to your peer for a match salary until you're 30 or so. You commented on you went to an engineering school, so all the black males that you knew at your school were engineers. So how do you think that plays into this whole thing that, you know, as a young black male starting college saying, wow, if I become a doctor, that's going to be 4 years undergrad, 4 years med school, at least 3 years residency, more for fellowship, and then I can start making some money and pay back all these loans. As opposed to if I'm an engineer, I can do 4 years, get a decent job, take care of my family, you know?
I think that's very true. I mean, I'm kind of pulling out a different story, but even after my internal medicine training, I had like one of my close friends I was following, because when you're going through med school, going through this, you need to have that big brother role model. So like the person who I had been following, his main thing, he kept on trying to convince me, you know, you don't need to do a fellowship, you don't need to do further training, you need to just get out there and go start making money, and you go get your family and make money, take care of your family.
This is a black male?
The black male. So I mean, that's going further on, but I can think if that was a different track, if this was during undergrad and I had that role model who was going down a different path and was just saying, oh, you just need to focus, like, because you've seen so many of your friends going into different fields outside of medicine just to go out there and just make the quick buck. And it's hard to really look past that and see like your future, like what you're investing in if you choose the medical route, because it's going to take forever, and most people who you're going to speak to, they're going to let you know medicine, it may take another 10 years before you can actually go out there and actually start making money and actually raise a family and do all these things. So I mean, most of my friends, most of them were engineers, most of them were out there making money, families and all these things. So
I guess the crux of the question, I'm sorry to interrupt, the crux of the question would be, do you think that played a role in why they didn't go medicine? Because I'm sure you had a lot of friends who were really smart, could have been doctors easily. Do you think that link actually played a role in them deciding to be engineers as opposed to saying, I'm going to be a doctor?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with their families as well. I mean, like you keep on hitting on, you're looking at your parents and you see how they raised you up and they got out of school. Well, a lot of them, some of them may not have even gone to college or this far. So you're breaking new ground on all of this. And it's never easy when you're the first one. Even with us us growing up as brothers, we had so much support from our father. He was at least in the health industry as a PhD. So even with all that support, still I, being the first one to become a medical doctor in our immediate family, it was still a struggle. It was a constant struggle because it felt like every step I was taking, I had to go try to find whatever resource I could find, read whatever book I could, make whatever friends I could to see what the next step is. And hopefully it made it a little bit easier on you, so you could see, okay, my brother did this, he did this on the MCAT, he did this path and whatnot. So I think it definitely is, just all goes back to that.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it definitely does make it, and I can speak from that perspective. I guess in this bunch, I'm probably the only one who actually had an easy path to follow, you know. So when you asked me, was it difficult to get through med school, you know, it was difficult to get there.
Yeah, I said it's never easy.
Exactly. It's never easy.
You're an example of what happens when you have that positive role model. Exactly. It's just a perfect case. And a lot of times, black youth don't really have that. And specifically black males, because a lot of them are out on the streets because why? Because of the economic situations in the communities that make it like that. And there's so many pull factors that bring them out of, away from the path towards becoming a doctor or becoming a professional. And so I think that, and I should make it clear that it's not just an issue that's confined to just medicine. It's all, many fields. Yeah. So it's a larger issue that just needs to be addressed, not just within healthcare, but outside of healthcare as well too. It's a community problem.
Okay, so in our last few minutes, let's be solution oriented. A lot of people, and myself included, probably we throw out, say, oh, that's a problem, that's a problem. But, let's be solution oriented. So we come up with all these different problems, by the year 2050, they say, is it 2050? I think it's 2050. Over half of the population of the country will be minority ethnicity. And obviously the the percentage of African Americans in the field of medicine is not increasing proportionally. So how do we take that on? How do we actually make solutions? How do we fix this problem knowing that we cannot change society? What things can we do? Because in my opinion, it's our responsibility. That's why we decided to start this Black Men in White Coats series. It's our responsibility to attack the problem, because we're the ones in the positions that can do the most groundwork on it. So let's start throwing ideas. Somebody might watch this and say, hey, we can build from that.
I think this is a perfect example of solving those issues, because this may go out to some youth out there who will look at this and see this as guidance. We talked about guidance and creating that pipeline, and I think that this will help youth. So I think that really it's upon waiting for the government or society or some larger entity to solve our problems is not going to solve our problems. And I think that we need to find the good within ourselves, and all the negative images that we have. We're going to have to personally, each individually, have to go out there and fight them and take on leadership roles and start up initiatives like this. But pragmatically speaking, how do we make it such that it's connected with something larger? Where, and I should say that the way we would go about doing that, I think, is by basically, you're part of, you have DiverseMedicine. I may be an SNMA. The fact that you have these things, you're doing something that's critical for the community. I'm doing something that's critical for the community. We're all doing something that's critical for the community. We'll naturally gravitate towards each other. And I think that it's important for each individual to have that sense of responsibility, that sense of gratitude for how we got here. Because I didn't get here alone, and I know you both don't feel like that.
Definitely not.
And so I think that as we bring more people into the fold, I think that just not forgetting about that. That's number one. That's just number one. I think just remembering that there's personal responsibility is what I'm trying to say, basically.
Yeah.
So, others, what do you guys think?
No, I definitely agree with that. Just from my experience, the sad thing is, it's so hard to at least see in other people that they feel they have that personal responsibility. I feel like there's a lot of people who I see who don't feel that it's necessarily their responsibility to help. And maybe it's not, maybe it's not really our responsibility to help. Maybe it has to be more of a desire, because I don't think people should help if they don't feel like they have to help. But I agree with you. I think ideally, if everybody did feel like, if the Black males out there felt like, then maybe I can go get 2 young males to mentor, and 2 young pre-meds, and I just be there for them. Let them send me emails, go over their personal statement, do a mock interview with them. If each one of us took on 2 pre-meds like that, I think that'll go a long way. Now, do I think each one of us are going to take on 2? I don't know. That's weird.
And, I think from a lot of what we talked about today, the 2 biggest issues seem to be finances and appropriate, mentorship. So, just to make it, and it's not simple, but the 2 core issues we need to get at is finances and mentoring. So, as far as we need to find ways to get scholarships, and I think there are plenty of scholarships out there. Believe me, in high school I found so many scholarships, but it's just that a lot of young Black males aren't aware of them. So, that's where the mentoring comes in as well. Whenever we get back like we're talking about right now, we can have websites, have whatever it takes to actually get them to find these opportunities and know that it is possible, to give them the confidence and let them know, this is an investment for the future. Don't think about right now going out there and the easy way out, so to speak, but you have to think about long term, what's going to be best for your family and all this stuff. So I think just leading them in the right direction and making sure that they have as much support as they can. So those are two big issues.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. And the other thing I would say from a perspective of, medical school administration, there's tons of medical schools that complain about not being able to get enough, black men. Probably not tons, probably the majority of med schools who say we don't have enough black men. Well, I mean, there's easy things you can do about it. The med schools themselves can put out a stronger effort to go recruit these black men starting at a young age, You can have a select few, you can go to these recruitment fairs, find some freshmen who are pre-med and follow them, track them. It's kind of like sports. We talk about, the societal influences, sports. Nowadays you have NBA teams scouting junior high kids. As you're following them, you're investing in some of these kids. They know when to go to Nike camp. So if you're a med school, you can find a freshman student, send them a letter every semester, say, hey, just checking up on you, seeing how your grades are doing. If you keep on doing well, we'd love to have you here at such and such university. And then when that student gets to that certain age level, the certain grade level to apply to med school, say, you know what, we're going to waive your application fee. If you really want these students, there's things that the administration, the medical school administrations could do, which is, so easy fixes. At least in my opinion, it's really easy. It's very easy to find a black freshman male who wants to go to med school and show interest in them first and say, hey, I'm interested in you coming to my school when you're there. If I was a black man, I am a black man, but if I would have got a letter when I was a freshman as a black pre-med student, if I would have got a letter saying, yeah, I'd love for you to come to, our med school if you do well, I would have been like, oh my goodness, this school wants me. I'm going to bust my butt to do well because I know the school's telling me that they want me to come. Is that easy? You don't have to guarantee them a spot or anything like that, but just say we're interested in you. That easy solution is going to tackle the finances, tackle the mentorship. Each one of us can find 2 pre-meds to mentor and not just, quote unquote mentor, but actually be there for these guys, like respond to their messages when they message us. It goes a long way.
Something else, it always strikes me every time I'm out there, maybe I'm playing basketball with a group and it might be a predominantly black population I'm playing with or a community. It always gets me that once they find out I'm a doctor, most of them are around are in the 20s, 30s, and whatnot. Once they find out, they see me somewhere, or I wore my white coat somewhere, and they see me, all of a sudden the conversation changes. The way we communicate changes. And once that happens, you start developing bonds with them, and you start realizing all these where things went wrong in their lives. That's when they'll open up and they'll tell you,
Until they say it went wrong, but
not
paths changed.
But where they had dreams, they wanted to be a lawyer, they wanted to be this, or they wanted to be a doctor, and it all opens up and they say, I wanted to do it, but I just had to go out there, I had to make money, or I had a baby or whatnot. So the real stories start coming out, and I realized a lot of doctors, male black doctors go out there and reach communities, but sometimes it's not the actual communities that actually need the reaching. Sometimes you may go to one of these science type schools, which is like training people already to be doctors and whatnot. Yeah, but I think the communities that we're actually reaching, going to the real communities, we have to make sure that we spread it out and don't be afraid to touch the different areas, different communities as well that real underserved and all that other privileged areas as well, and really just get the message out to everybody.
I just want to say I think it'd be it's just I feel like it's very critical for us again to create that inner culture within the culture, larger culture, and doing it by whatever means. Just try something. Just creating that culture and looking at your communities, seeing seeing the problems that currently exist, and then just creating a situation where you can take young people and just sort of bring them into this inner culture. And you clearly you were on the basketball court and you had a group of people that were clearly you changed them just by the fact that they knew you were a doctor. So I think that when people respect you in that way, that's a leadership position. That means that it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. And I think that right there, that's an ability. You have the ability to create a sort of culture around you, bring these people in and start something there. And so if we individually do those things, and when we see other people doing that, we connect those things, then we're moving towards the right direction, I think. And so, you know, and this is just coming from more of a pragmatic perspective, because, you know, the cultural attack against us is so hostile. It is so, you know, it's unrelenting. And I think, you know, when you read the news every day, it just, you know, it's tough. You see, you know, you see the realities. And so I think that, you know, people that understand that and who have the privilege to be able to, you know, be in the position that we're in, I think it's critical that we create that inner culture and bring those children up. So
definitely. All right, so it's real. There are black men in white coats. We are examples of that. We exist. All of us need to go out and do the things that we're talking about doing. We all need to find some students to mentor. We're all in diverse medicine. You can hit any one of us up as mentors in diverse medicine. And we just have to go out there and make this happen. Black men in white coat. Gentlemen, thank you.
my pleasure.
All right, next time.